Yes, thank you for calling us in today. We have questions for you. Are you triggered? Are you confused? Are you lost? Are you hurt? Have you been listening to our sessions and have you been putting the information we have been sharing with you into place? Can you trust? Can you navigate yourself forward? Do you know the truth? Do you know your truth? Have you been listening to the mainstream media, for example, and has that suddenly given you a bad case of depression or frustration or anger? How are you navigating yourself forward through this? If you've been listening to us, you know the bigger picture here. You know this is a waiting game for you while others are awoken to the truth that is so blatantly now obvious in front of them. How do you treat your fellow man who's still closed and asleep? Do you give them compassion? Or do you feel frustrated? Do you feel like it's a personal attack on you because you know the truth and they're still stuck? How are you navigating yourself through this? With patience, with compassion, with diligence, with honor to yourself and others? Are you still able to love yourself with information that you know about things and be able to reflect back? Are you able to love yourself and see others as an extension of self? Have you forgotten what we have been saying to you all this time? For the people who are diligently honoring and trusting the mainstream media, they are about to have a big wake-up call. They've had many chances, many taps on the shoulder, many opportunities to awaken, many, many, many. And for some, you will know this is their purpose. They are never to awaken because they are going to stay on the old earth. We know this, we have explained this. And you have to accept that there are some people who need to stay on the old earth. And then there are others who are very intelligent, who are very professional, who are very kind, who are very smart and caring, but they are still fooled by the system. And it's confusing for you because you think it should be so obvious that they must be aware of all. Are they truly blind? Is this a purpose that they must have to be able to help you navigate morally through what's happening? Is this a test? Can you still give compassion and care for others who are, in quotation marks, asleep? And what if we say to you that this is a part of their plan? They chose to be asleep until the shift because this was their purpose to help you, to be able to strengthen your own belief systems, to give compassion to others, and to accept what's happening and still not let it waver you, to not let it trip you into a negative wave of emotions. You must be able to know that while we're not judging you, and while this whole process is about helping the people who are asleep who need to wake up now, this is all for them. Are you able to respect others' processes and to not be triggered yourself and not to judge those? While we're not judging you, and this is not a test for you who are already awoken, just check how you're behaving and how you're rolling through this, how you're experiencing it. Yes, of course, there will be darker times where you feel like, oh my gosh, this is too overwhelming. And then there'll be other times where it'll feel easy and you can be above it all. Explore all of the emotions, but again, as we've told you, don't get stuck in them. Verbalize what you're feeling. Is there old fears there? It is very hard for the people who are awoken to not start getting frustrated because the world is so unjust. This is the whole purpose of us waking you all up now and for this shift. It's because you all have to be awoken and understand how there is no justice in this world. While there is lessons here, absolutely, and there is no good and bad, it's all lessons, the scales have been tipped so incredibly that the justice that is on the planet is not in healthy balance. And you know this, and this is the reason why we have to shift off this planet, because the negativity is too strong, and it is not serving humanity. So this last bit does feel very heavy, does feel very overwhelming, and for all of you who are waiting for all the events to take place, does feel like a very long process as you're just ready to go. A lot of you are just wanting to go to the next stage. Lingering here now, this heaviness does feel very, very, very overwhelming, and we understand that. And as long as you do not get so overwhelmed that you're tipping the scales and lowering your vibration, there is no judgment here, but just remember that when you are in the lower vibration, the best part about it is building yourself back up, and building yourself back up to that highest state of emotions where you can see things from the bigger picture. And the bigger perspective of understanding everything is happening perfectly because there is perfect reasons for it. And you have to give compassion to the people who are still asleep, who naturally want to awaken. It is getting so obvious now, beyond obvious now, that there is going to be almost virtually no point in keeping up the charade. If they are meant to awaken and they haven't at a certain point, we will naturally wake up everyone, because it's just getting way too blatantly obvious. And peer pressure and circumstances and trauma that hasn't been released is part of the issues why people are refusing to wake up. If you have a trauma from, say, for example, if you are a female who's got trauma against male dominance, you're really going to struggle with the Trump campaign. If you are a male who is also been triggered by male dominance, you're going to be stressed with the whole process. There is so much trauma that you're all carrying in. We should say there's so much trauma that the asleep are still carrying, that it's really blinding them to the bigger picture here. And while we have been triggering people to awaken softly since the lockdown, you have been taken out of your normal routines, which should have been a huge wake-up call for everyone. And it's continued on as such. We have purposely and gently tried to waken up and trigger you all to process things. Most of the people listening here have already done their bigger work since the lockdowns, and they have gone really well. They have released a lot of stuff and have been able to do so in their pace, and now they can be proud of where they are right now. However, a lot of people have not have resisted every step of the way. They have not surrendered into it. They have been defiant the whole time, and they're still very, very stuck. And so those are the people that are still believing the media, and still trying to feel, or actually they're not wanting to feel, not trying to feel. They do feel victims and stuck and hopeless, and they are trusting that there is going to be people who in authority who are going to lead the way. And everyone trusts people to be able to help humanity move forward. There is a lot of trust there in the leaders. And while we know there are some leaders who are wanting to use their power for bad, there are others that are wanting to use their power for good. But remember, we are in control of all of this. This isn't something that is out of our control. And we are monitoring this as it's changing, we are monitoring the people who are awake and the amounts of awake, and we understand what needs to be played out to be able to help people at this point. And so there is a lot that is being disclosed for them to awaken, and some people are awakening faster than others. There are still a few very vocal people who are still crying out for help, shall we say. We don't want to say disappointed because that is a strong word, but we are concerned for the light workers who are still saying that the New World Order is about to take place. We are concerned that there is still a lot of people who pledge and make people believe and think that they have got the bigger wisdom and connecting to other higher realms, who are still saying that there is a war here, still spreading fear, still believing that that you are vulnerable, still believing that you need to fight. There is no such need. This is creating more concern than rising up and uplifting people. This is a concern for us because it is taking people off path. There is no fear. We have, the light has won, and we are, with honor to people's contracts, we are still allowing this to play out so people can awaken. And we understand how hard your lives have been, not just this lifetime, but all the other lifetimes. And so we're gently trying to help you awaken naturally. And again, we understand that the people who are already awakened, this is a very painful, frustrating time for you to be patient, because you can feel the pain. You've already experienced where they're at. And so you know exactly where they're at and how frustrating and scary it is. And so you're feeling their emotions again because you've already gone through it. That's why you can have compassion for them, even though you're at the place that you're at and you're awake and you want the next stage to happen. Thank you very much, because you're ready to go. It is very challenging. And then sometimes you get frustrated with how they're responding and behaving, especially when you were not this dramatic or fearful and publicly outbursting. So there's a lot going on here. We want to be able to reassure you that we're still very much aware of what's happening, and we will take over as soon as we need to. And that is referring to the broadcast and awakening people. And we understand that it still seems very hard for you to understand how that's all going to take place. But it is very much still our plan to be able to do that, because there is not much time, really. And in quotation marks, we say time. Our plan to be able to help evacuate this planet is still ongoing. It is essential and it is necessary. And even the vehicle finds it very hard sometimes to understand how this is all going to plan out, because she's still very much human. And so it is a surprise to keep hearing us say these things in sessions. But again, we say, to avoid fear, you must trust and keep the bigger picture in your mindset. And it is very hard. We understand this. Being human is very hard for the unawakened and the awoken. And we understand this may sound like judgmental labels, but we're trying to converse with you using the vehicle's words. And we know sometimes it can be limiting, and we understand that. But this is why you must apply the information that we give to you. And you actually need to use your own mind and feelings to navigate through this. If you have any questions about the content that we're delivering to you, you must ask yourselves and apply it. Use common sense here and navigate through the information. It is very important. We know a lot of people get confused and get stuck on certain questions and certain answers, and you almost seem to get lost. So use your common sense, use your bigger picture perspective, knowing these facts. You're always going to be protected. Everything is for your higher good, and there is literally nothing to fear. So with those three things in mind, go forth on your days, be merry, focus on the joy that you have in your lives, and not get stressed and wound up in the drama. That drama is not for you. That drama is not for you. That drama is not for you. So remember that. Enjoy yourselves and the time that you have left, and not get all hooked up. It will be fine. You know the outcome. We have already told you the outcome. And it is just a game that needs to be played out to be able to help others. And so we say this with much love, and we encourage you to find the joy. Remember our old lessons that we have told you, they still are valid. And if you're feeling like you are losing your way emotionally and you're feeling down, we still have those messages of the group healings and the perspective. Remember that peer pressure is a very strong, powerful thing that is not in your favor. And we've already covered that. And so there are some very important messages that you may need to listen to back again, because time has changed. You have grown even more since the first time you listened to them. And we say this with much love.